1220 AM 1220 KHTS.
AM 1220 KHTS, HometownStation.com. In the studio with me right now, we were just hearing the spot from Advanced Audiology. I have Nola Aronson here in the studio with me to talk a little bit about ears. Nola Aronson, welcome to Afternoon Tea. Thank you for being here today.
You're welcome. It's nice to be here.
I have some questions. You've been in the Valley for a long time. You've had quite the presence here. How long have you been working here in Santa Clarita?
I've been working here since 1986.
1986, so you remember the Valley when the Valley was much smaller and it was a totally different place, wasn't it?
Right. It wasn't even a city yet.
It wasn't a city yet, and now and you are right over on Valencia Blvd.
Yes, next to AAA.
Next to AAA, and there's
the Owen Patterson Troop Building.
And I love that you have a purple sign, easy to see, easy on the eyes. Now, what led you, first of all, to ears? I happen to think ears are really fascinating. I'm very audio oriented. I'm a musician. I love sounds. I love being here at the radio station where I listen to the ads, I listen to the voices. What led you into a career that had to do with the ears?
Well, actually, I was a special education teacher for many years, and the children that I was working with had a lot of problems with their speech and language. So I decided I was going to get my master's degree in speech pathology or communication disorders. And part of the program was that you had to take an audiology class. So I had to take a pediatric audiology class. Now, when I was in special ed, it was a lot of hard work to teach the children the same thing over and over and over again. And sometimes they'd get it and sometimes they wouldn't.
Right.
Sort of speech is like that, too, when you're teaching children how to speak properly.
Right. You're having to repeat yourself, and then eventually So you were studying audiology with children at that time when you were?
No. So then what I had to do is I had to take a pediatric audiology class.
Okay.
And I realized at that time, I can get my answer right away, and I can help somebody right away.
Oh.
It won't take me a long time. I can just get them help.
It was a little more fulfilling to have that aspect of what you were doing.
Right.
So when you first opened your office, did you find you were working primarily with young patients, or did you see just the whole range of?
Well, I've always seen the whole range, but my specialty is testing difficult-to-test children. Children that other audiologists may not be able to test.
That's a really good magic trick, or a little bit of a superhero to be able to do that, because I have a son with autism, and I know when he was little, it was difficult to get him to do anything. The idea of having to test someone who has some difficulties, that had to be very challenging for you.
Yeah, I love it.
But you do love it.
Challenge.
I love that. I love that you love the challenge.
Yeah.
And that you've done this for so long in our valley. So Advanced Audiology, you see everyone, all ages. Your business takes care of, if you've got ears, you're handling it.
Yes. Well, for a couple of years there, we set up a newborn hearing screening program over at Henry Mayo. But it was very time-consuming. We had to be on call on weekends and holidays. And so there's a group of people that go in and do this as a living. They're not audiologists. They're more technicians.
Mm-hmm.
So that we turned that over to them about 4 years ago now. And so we are not permitted at this time by the state to see newborn children that have failed the hearing screening at the hospital anymore.
Mm-hmm. But you still see every other.
Yeah, but if they're a year or more above and they need a test, yes, we see all those children.
All right, well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of getting the ears checked and how critically, how we really need to pay attention to that, just like we do the rest of the body. We're going to do the traffic right now, though. Hometown Station traffic every 10 minutes, and checking in with my good friends of Caltrans. Hey, AM 1220 KHTS, HometownStation.com. In the studio with me now, I'm talking to Nola Aronson from Advanced Audiology, who has been in our valley since 1986, taking care of all things hearing related. And we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of getting one's ears checked. As you know, we're pretty good at taking care of every other part of our body. You know, we go to the dentist, we go for physical checkups. Nola, tell me a little bit. I mean, again, I'm an audio person. I love sounds, I think, more than I do things that I see. But sometimes we don't always think about, the idea of ear health. And I know my dad, for example, for a long time was very resistant to wanting to get the ears checked. And I always feel like, gosh, I wish there was a way to get past that stigma and the understanding how critically important ears are to overall health. Can you talk to me a little bit about the importance of that?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's very, weird, but, years ago, everybody thought that hearing loss meant you were getting old. And the hearing aids of those days, even when I started, 30 years ago in this field, were gigantic. And
right.
They looked ugly and they weren't appealing. And what they did at that time is they just amplified all sound. But
that could not have been pleasant.
No. So they got a bad reputation.
Okay.
And we've been working hard over the years to now hearing aids are invisible. Nobody sees them. People walk around with these big Bluetooth things in their ears. And
right.
They say, well, that's okay to, maybe ruin your brain or something from the waves that come from, the Bluetooth device.
Right, and earbuds. People are walking around all the time now with something in their ear.
Right, and also ruining their hearing because they have it turned up too loud.
Yeah.
So the thing is that nowadays the hearing aids are Bluetooth compatible, and they can be like a personal headset for you. And nobody even knows that you have them. In fact, they're connected to iPhones now. And you can actually program your own hearing aids for your own environments.
There's an app for that.
And there's an app for that.
Wow.
Right on the iPhone.
Wow.
And now the Android phones will be coming out within the next few months. So things are changing so rapidly. The main thing is we hear, but we don't understand. So people themselves don't always know how many times they say what in a day. So when I'm showing people how they do, I will ask the wife, well, why don't you get one of those clickers, that you click when the people walk in the door?
A counter,
yeah,
right?
Counter. And why don't you click how many times your husband says what in a day?
I see. I always think it's because my husband doesn't want to hear what I have to say. Well, I didn't hear you. I didn't know what you said. But it's true. We do often say what, and we are so geared now to having devices that are a little too loud. I have two young, 18 and 22-year-old, my kids, and I've spent their whole life saying, turn that down. If I can hear it, it's too loud.
Right.
When you've got headsets on, and I think sometimes we forget that hearing is connected to so many safety things throughout a day. When we're driving, we need to be able to hear in addition to seeing, and it is critically important that we stay on top of our hearing health. How young would you say someone? Because again, I know we've been raised to understand. Okay, you got to get the kid into the dentist. You got to get in for vaccinations or for checkups and all of that. For good ear health, when would you recommend someone actually comes to an audiologist?
Well, first of all, when you're in school,
Mm-hmm.
they have programs in school to do hearing screenings. I don't know till what age.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's till 8th grade or something like that. But children are pretty much taken care of. Pediatricians do check children's hearing.
And just like parents, like you were saying, the husband saying what, if you find your kids aren't hearing you or they're not responding, that's a pretty good sign to bring them in to see you, isn't it?
Yes. In fact, we are very quick to diagnose children with attention deficit disorders.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing you need to do is have your child's hearing checked, because in order to have attention deficit disorders, you have to have normal hearing. So it's good to get that ruled out of the way. Maybe your child's not paying attention to you or not cooperating because they're not hearing you or they're missing things.
It's not always just a behavioral issue.
Right.
Very fascinating. All right, so again, if people are interested in learning more about advanced audiology, you should know they have that gorgeous purple sign on Valencia Boulevard. They're near AAA. And Nola Aronson has been here. You have an incredible reputation here in the Valley, very trusted, and people know when they come to you, they're going to get answers. So, again, Advanced Audiology, we've been speaking with Nola Aronson. Thank you so much for coming into the studio today to give us a little more education about what we hear. I'm very grateful to you.
Thanks for having me.